Cynics on Disney podcast contains adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
This is the Cynics on Disney podcast, presented by nightclub33.com.
Welcome into this week's episode of the Cynics on Disney podcast. I'm your host, Bobby, aka the Disney Cynic.
And I'm Amanda, aka the Anti-Cynic.
And joining us today is the big boss, the CEO of nightclub33.com, Steve. Thank you very much for joining us.
The big boss.
There we go.
Getting the kids
So much better.
I'm getting used to this.
That's very good.
Since we have the big boss, not only is he the CEO, but he's also the producer of this here podcast. So I want to make sure to rope him in specifically, because really I feel like you're the average Joe. Like of all the fucking people I know on this planet, you are just like the most like right there in the middle guy I've ever met on everything. And I love that about you, man. Like, you don't have a strong accent on everything. You have strong opinions. Make no mistake. I'm not, no, but you know, it's just, you are like the everyman to me. And we're in kind of similar income brackets. I'm finding it frustratingly expensive to go to some place like Disney World, and I fucking live here. Mm-hmm. And I can only imagine that traveling here is a big old pain in the ass, right?
I wouldn't call it a pain. It just it keeps on getting higher and higher in cost. So if you find a good deal on a hotel, then the airline tickets are high, or vice versa. Right. But one of the fixed costs that is always present is the price of park tickets. They've gone up and up and up and up and up. So, you know, you strategically pick your spots when you want to go down. And, you know, I want to see like things like Tiana's Bayou Adventure. But is there enough new stuff? Is there enough new stuff down there for me to want to spend my dollar? You know, that's where I'm at. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's completely fair. And I think that's kind of the general gist of everybody right now. And that was made even more apparent with an article in the Wall Street Journal. And if you have not had the chance to read that full article, I highly recommend doing so. It is worth your time and your money. If you have to subscribe. I don't know if you have to subscribe.
You do. Yeah. Because I didn't read it.
And I would actually, I think it's worth your time and your money to go to the original source of the article, not just read somebody's opinion of that.
Sure.
Article. Because reading it from the source is much, much different. And even though that article was very anecdotal, it talked about like, you know, a couple different families that, you know, are either just flabbergasted by how much they just spent on everything. And they talked to another family who DVC members and just sold their contract. They just said that it's cheaper for me to go to Europe, and they sold their contract and went to Europe for 3 straight weeks, just wandering around.
Yeah,
and it was cheaper.
I mean, I don't know about that, but it's
it's probably that they spent the entirety of their DVC contract sale on such an endeavor.
But still, knowing that, you know, the amount of money that you pay for, you know, 1 year contract for one hotel at Disney, you can, you know, at Disney World, you can go and see multiple countries.
And I think, like, I've seen the summations of the article, and they're talking about, what are they saying? Like the internal talks at Disney, or that they're worried about the attendance at the domestic parks, specifically Walt Disney World, because the prices are up.
It's not just that; it's the exit surveys that they send out. More often a significantly higher percentage more are saying they are not intending to
Yeah.
return to the
Yep.
parks. On top of that, they point this out in the article as well, and this is why I challenged Pat on all this shit a couple weeks ago. But I'll throw it your way now. They had declining growth for the first time in several quarters when it came to the parks.
Yeah.
And on top of that, their park attendance actually did decline in the fourth quarter of last
Yeah.
year.
And
So
I saw that. Now, declining growth is still growth. So I mean, that is,
sure,
it's, they still grew.
it is still
Uh,
an indicator, though, of a negative economic impact of some kind.
yeah. But, looking at the fourth quarter of last year with their two domestic parks, when you're talking about two hurricanes in Florida and wildfires in California, I'm not, I'm not really putting much stock in that whole part of
I
it.
am not
But the
saying that.
declining growth the declining growth overall, it's down 5% in growth. So the parks domestically grew 1% versus 6% in 2023, which shows that people are still wanting to go.
But
But what
not.
I found funny about like the summation that I read, because that's all that I could afford because I wasn't going to pay
Sure.
for the Wall Street Journal, uh, the is okay. I remember I think this was Iger right before Chapek took over, or this was either him or Chapek, but it was a kind of a joint thing because Chapek was big under Iger too, and
Sure.
they were trying to limit the number of guests by raising the price. This was the strategy.
Yeah.
So like to hear that they're now worried, it's like, well, this was the idea, is that you guys were going to try to keep the park guest amount the same, um, and cap it where it was because people were getting mad about the crowd. So you're trying to thin out the herd by raising the price. So now you're not growing. I mean, are you not doing this strategy now? Like it's interesting because they're growing monetarily, clearly, because they're still getting more people and they're raising the prices. But
Yeah, and they're running into their own inflation cost issues. I understand that, and there is a degree of understanding that I have to those kinds of concerns. 'Cause frankly, my costs have gone up tremendously in
yeah,
my business,
yeah.
and that's both labor and equipment, that kind of stuff. So,
But those are,
um,
but see, that's the thing. Like you have to buy those for your business to exist,
mhm,
right?
yeah,
And you're forced into it. I'm not forced to go to your vacation spot.
that is
I
very
have
true.
many places that I can go that you know in here domestically and abroad where I can spend my dollar, and I
I
think that's what
really
their
about
pay
to
where
get
their
to that.
pain's going to come from.
Yeah.
You know, we're really gonna get to that. I promise, Steve. Like
Yeah,
we're champing at the bit. That is the proper way to say that, right? It is champing
champing.
at the
It's
bit.
champing. That's correct. Not chomping.
It's very important that we be precise with these kinds
Horse
of videos.
terminology
So
is so weird, but that's
it
another
really
story.
is,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Fucking man, Jesus. Anyway, um, look, I understand that they have to grow as a business, and they are duty bound by their shareholders, you know, to grow and to provide dividends, provide a return on investment. That's the whole point of investing in a company like that. Now, at the same time, though, they're not looking internally, I think, at their own strategy, because it seems like in the uh, preceding years before the pandemic, the parks were a much smaller percentage of their total operating income. It was about 20 to 25% actually, compared to all the billion-dollar franchise movies that were coming out at the time and everything like that. Now the
Well,
parks account and experiences, because they've lumped all that, the
yep.
cruise line and all that stuff in.
Yeah.
Now all of that division accounts for 70% of the total operating income of the company.
Right.
And that says there's a significant shift away from the film side, and I think that they're lumping Disney Plus in with this experience. Shit.
Well, it's hard to
really
know.
do.
It's hard to know.
I mean, apparently, if you subscribe to Disney Plus, you can't say anything about a ticket.
But operating income, though, when you're looking at your bottom line, that's how much money you're making, not necessarily the full flow of revenue both ways. So
Sure.
that's just the profit margin, and it's just most of their plus is coming from the parks. And from my understanding, I would imagine that the loss there on the entertainment side is the Fox deal, because it's just a lot of debt to take on.
Oh, a tremendous amount.
So you're talking paying that down over 15 or 20 years. So you're like what, 7 or 8,
and the studio itself is not producing any content while they were doing that transition either. I mean, so the Alien Romulus movie was and Deadpool, I think, were the last ones that kind of fell under that umbrella for the Fox shit, and then that was it. Or now it's 20th Century, and that kind of stuff is fucking with the numbers as well. I understand, but also they've not made as much money on films that they should have really swung and hit big on. Like something like Lightyear should have never not been a hit.
The problem there is the marketing, isn't it? Like, because I don't care for, like, I don't watch Marvel movies and Star Wars and stuff, and these are big franchises. But like, I'll literally find out these things are coming out the day of, or the day, day before.
They don't do a ton of. It's almost like
I've got your products.
It's almost like they depend more on social media to get it out for them.
But I follow their accounts. Like, I'm in the Disney loop. I don't necessarily watch those films, but on my phone, there's an ESPN app, there's a Hulu app, there's a Disney Plus app. I'm a sports fanatic, and if I'm literally watching your ESPN channel, how is there not? It's free for you to run an ad to tell me that there's a Marvel movie coming out.
Right.
It doesn't cost you. I mean, you got to, studio's going to swap some money, but it's not costing what it would cost you to go run it on CBS. Mm-hmm. You can put anything in the score bug of a Sunday night baseball game or whatever, and let me know there's something coming out. And it's like a week out or a day out, they're saying these things. They're not driving the hype like they did. Because I remember, like, when Black Panther and stuff were coming out, they were like hyping that up, and people went and saw it.
Yeah. Well, even when
hey, we're done with that.
When Endgame came out, that's like, I think, the last big one that I remember them like really hyping up.
Okay. Yeah. That was a year in the making. That was 20 films culminating. Like,
but
that
still, it doesn't matter.
To make a movie?
It takes. I mean,
hype your movie.
Every movie is a multi-year process.
Yeah.
No, but that was the true. There is a difference between Endgame and fucking like Ant-Man.
Yeah,
okay?
But
like,
I shouldn't be hearing about Ant-Man the day before it comes out.
That's also true.
Back when we were because I actually heard that one, and I was like, this doesn't even look appealing to me, like, whatsoever.
Yeah, but yes, I get that. Endgame was this big huge thing, and it was the end of an era essentially. But I should still, with these other movies that aren't like that, you shouldn't be hearing about them a day or a week before they come out. I mean, think back to when we were kids. How long before like Lion King came out were we hearing about it?
Yeah.
Posters were up in the movie.
Yeah. When you bought the Aladdin video or whatever was right.
They had the previews.
They were telling you, hey, coming soon.
Yeah.
To theaters is and you knew about it.
Yeah.
There's ways to market. You have a captive fan base. Whether or not people claim to like Disney or don't, they have Disney Plus, they have Hulu, and they're watching ESPN. You can get, it doesn't make sense.
Y'all have that
that
little sound effect from like coming soon to a theater near
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That little like electric sound effect, whatever has haunted me since my childhood. there's certain shit like that I think that's the shared experience of true Disney fans. Really, that's what binds us all together. That and misery from Heat, and so, still loving the shit nonetheless. And so let me let me throw a couple of other figures out there. Okay, so um, the units. This is talking about their final quarter of 2024, their first fiscal quarter of 2025, technically.
Yeah.
The units, and they're in reference to the experiences division. The unit's income of 3.1 billion for the final 3 months of 2024 was flat year over year. At the U.S. theme parks, attendance declined 2%, and
Yeah.
operating income fell 5% year over year.
That's interesting.
Now, they're
Because they didn't cut
part of
prices,
that
so how did that
is
happen? Yeah. Inflation,
part
I
of
guess.
that.
Yeah.
They also say part of that is due to the hurricane,
Yeah,
and
of course.
um, yes and no. Like, yes, they lost out on ticket revenue, and certainly they lost out on some food or something, souvenirs or something like that. But they sold plenty of shit. Trust me, and they booked out all of their hotel rooms for those storms. So it's not like they were,
Okay,
destitute.
but if they book like how many of those hotel rooms are in a situation like we did at Universal where it was for those
Well, I'm
evacuating,
certain that they were.
so that's a discounted rate. How many people had to cancel their
Actually,
vacation?
I looked into to them for that very
They wasn't
situation. There was
it wasn't
no,
discounted.
Yeah,
it,
but
How many people had to
but they were
cancel?
also, to be fair to them, they were protecting the rooms for the guests that were trapped
Right,
and
right.
didn't have another place to
right,
stay.
and
That's a fair thing to do.
and then you also have to think how many had to cancel those vacations because they were impacted, or cancel future vacations because they had been impacted by,
Right.
especially Helene, like those, people from North Carolina and Tennessee and all that had to cancel because, you
A
know,
very
they,
drivable distance too.
right, but,
Right. Well, it's
they
a
were
full
hit by a
refund.
hurricane.
Yeah. And Disney gave
So,
full refund. Yeah.
yeah,
And then while you're and even if you do decide to stay and you are stranded in a hotel room, half of the Disney rooms they don't have traditional lobbies, so you're, you know, unless they're bringing you that, room service stuff that they were doing, where they're just bringing you a PBJ to the room. You're not going into the bar and running up a tab
yeah.
or anything like that, so they're losing a lot of revenue that way. Um, so yeah, I don't put a whole lot of stock into that last quarter, especially in Florida. But it is interesting to see just how the
I would
year
be
shaped up.
curious to
Yeah,
kind of see how it compares to Universal because Universal had
Well,
to go
we're
through
about to find
Universal
out.
had
yeah,
to go
we're
through
gonna
the
find
exact
out.
same things.
Yeah, but also Universal has this whole pent up thing where, like, I'm not making excuses for them, and I don't know their numbers. I'm just assuming offhand. If I'm planning a trip to Universal, there's no way I went in 2024. Like, it just wouldn't have happened. I would have been like, no, I'll save my Universal money
Yep.
For
for after the new
2025.
stuff
Yeah.
hits. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
just, it did logical sense. Like, unless I can only go and I know I can't go for another 10 years,
Yeah.
there's no way I went. Like, so they
We,
probably lost out on a lot, and they're about to probably hit it big.
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Oh
they
yeah.
definitely are.
And then
Oh,
they're going to
they're
pull a
about to.
Disney and raise their prices 25% and go right back to where they were.
I
Well,
mean,
okay.
they've already they've made it so when Epic Universe opens, if you have an annual pass, you can't use your annual pass to get in.
Of course.
Over at Epic Universe, you have to buy. I mean, you get a discounted rate on the ticket, but you have to buy a ticket.
Which that is a fair thing because when it's an annual pass that you've bought into, like if they added a fifth gate of while we were AP holders, like
Yeah.
that wouldn't be fair because they would be
Yeah, it
literally
would.
increasing the
They sold you a annual pass, honor it. Plain and simple.
to
Honor it.
4 parks. And I'm gonna go ahead. I'm the
You
cynic,
would have
man, and I'm even.
you would have lost your shit if Disney opened a
Ah.
Yeah,
fifth
probably.
gate while you had an annual pass and then
Yeah,
didn't
and
allow you
we
in
had
those
to buy
annual
a
passes.
ticket.
You personally would have lost your shit. And don't tell me any other way
But
because
they're
there's no way. Yeah.
also Universal's also doing it where you if you want to go to Epic Universe, like if you come down on a vacation and you're not an annual pass holder, you have to buy. You can't just do a 1-day ticket to Epic Universe. You have to buy a multi-park, and you can only do one of those days at Epic Universe.
Crowd control.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what they're doing because they know it's
But that-
going to be packed.
Disney did the same thing at Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom back in the day when it first opened.
Oh, I'm not
So,
complaining about it. I'm just saying
yeah.
that's what they.
it's
do.
established protocol in the theme
Yeah.
park.
It makes sense because you are crowd controlling. You know, this is going to be a huge thing.
So
We had annual passes when
the
Hollywood Studios opened, and we were able to get in. I don't think we bought an extra ticket, but I don't remember 1989.
I don't remember anything ticketing wise until I was like 8 or 9, and then it was annual passes, but it wasn't really annual passes; it was seasonal passes, and like I don't know, it was something. With the we somehow got tickets. Do you remember having to get the photo?
Oh
yeah.
my gosh!
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Before they did the
Yeah.
fingerprint.
college ID style photo. Yeah,
Before they did the fingerprint. Yeah.
nobody ever checked it, but you had
No,
to get
God
it.
no. But you had
It
to-
also was like my first like ID that I had in my wallet or whatever.
Yeah.
So
and you felt
like,
so special too, didn't you?
but see, that's the kind of thing that like I don't know if that's something even that a kid wants anymore, like a wallet or something like that, But still, like that was a treasured thing for me from my childhood that does not happen at all these days. So,
Nope.
and I understand again the reasons why costs. I get it, guys. It's dumb, but like those little things are what made Disney Disney to me.
Mhm.
They mentioned in the article, by the way, that Michael Eisner actually tripled the cost of the park tickets from like $20 to $60 from when he started to when he ended. And but in that same time period, he doubled the park capacity at each location.
Yeah.
Yep.
It feels like a fair swap to me. That's the investing thing that like brings it back to why we wanted to keep coming back. Like every time that we came in the 90s, there was something new to see.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
wasn't that it
Well-
was taking something else that was already there. We got to do that too.
Yeah, but there's a finite amount of room for expansion, and they've done that. They built out Pandora. They've obviously added Toy Story Land. They've done the big Star Wars expansion, so they've added those things. And now you're pushing yourself to where you're either going to do a fifth gate. I mean, right now they're going to do the Magic Kingdom, and then the next step is going to have to be the fifth gate.
Gonna have to be.
Yeah, but I don't see that coming while the Fox debt is on the books. So Disney's going to have to find a way to navigate this next decade, where they're on a tightrope because they can only raise the prices so high before guests turn. Or what's the point of having?
Turned. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like as a podcast, we've turned, and even you've kind of turned. Let's go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah.
Steve, you are flying to a goddamn different country. This
continent.
whole fucking godforsaken place that had like two good ideas, and then they came back with the fucking guillotine. Like, thanks for the help with the freedom and the money and stuff like that. And we scammed your asses on Louisiana.
Hey man, it's our first ally, so we'll.
But what? You're going to Disneyland Paris?
Of course, absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry, Cooper was chewing something, and I was trying to figure out what it was.
Yeah. So every year for spring break, we try to take a trip with our daughter Bella, and usually for these last couple of years, it's been to Europe just because it's cheaper to fly to Europe during that time because the weather's not as nice there. I mean, you're talking 50s for maximum temperatures, where everybody's trying to go there in June and July.
Yeah.
Americans, let's just say, are trying to go
Yeah.
there in June and July
Yeah.
when it costs more. So we've just done Europe trips because why not go and explore something different? Well,
Sure.
this year we had actually toyed with the idea of just doing a quick Disney World trip. But when you look at the cost of flying to Orlando during spring break, which is the airlines are out of control, anything in March near
Yeah.
warm weather, like I can fly to New York during my daughter's spring break for a round trip per person, $120, $180 max.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I can go anywhere that's not warm.
Not
I
Florida.
can go to DC. I can go to New
Yeah, I
York.
can't.
Yeah,
This is the downside of living here is that you can't fly out of here cheap at all.
you can fly out, and you
You just
well,
give
you know
like
what,
in.
if you're booking a round trip, you should actually probably be okay. So look into it. But and that's another show where we can
Yeah.
dive into
Yeah.
saving money on airline tickets. But if you want to, just for anybody out there that's interested in going, if you want to go to Europe, January through March, just throw the money out there. You can get to Europe for next to nothing. So the cost of the airline ticket was right up there with the cost of the park tickets for the biggest expenditure. Because now I use points and miles. I upgraded us to
Yeah.
lie flat
Sure.
business seats. We're flying Air France and doing all the bells and whistles. But if you just wanted to pay a straight cash rate, my family of 3 was going to be about $2,900 round trip to fly to Paris
Per person.
and total. Yeah. So that was what I would have paid. About
And is
$2,900.
Bella getting like a child? Like how old is Bella? Because is that
She's
like a
11.
child? So
Yeah,
she paying like
you don't. No,
yeah.
you get a child rate, but if you actually look at the difference,
It's
like
not.
you pay less
12
tax.
cents.
Oh yeah, it's just like the
Yeah.
Disney child rate on a
Yeah.
ticket. You know, like it's the daily ticket, the child
Like
rate
$20.
is $5. It's not even. Yeah, that's what the airlines are. They're shady. But yeah, during spring break, for me to fly to Orlando, it's like $2,500 to $2,800 just from So when you're looking at that, it's like, wait, I can take a 3.5 hour flight to Orlando for the same price I can fly to Paris. And then after
Yeah.
I use miles and points, I didn't even pay anywhere close to that. We're paying.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think I might have spent $1,500, and that's upgrading to business class.
Yeah.
In economy, I could have probably done it for free. But anyway, when you look at that, and then you're going to have some extra cost involved with, getting from the airport to the venue, and then you have your Disney hotel, which are actually cheaper than staying at a deluxe at Disney World.
Jeez.
It's like $500 a night for the hotel in New York. And
That's a fair price.
yeah. I mean, if you were to look, I would say the hotel in New York is probably on par with like a boardwalk beach club style. It's not like the highest level. It's probably more like the contemporary actually, because it's an Avengers theme. And
Yeah.
that'd
Oh.
probably be more on par with the contemporary.
Yeah.
And you can walk over to the parks in 10 minutes. You're right there on campus, and it's a beautiful hotel. They just renovated it, just put it up, and they did a great job with it. Well, that's $500 a night, and then the park tickets, I think we're paying. I think I sent you a text on this, Bobby. I think for the 3-day hopper that we have, it's $800 for the whole family, or
Jeez.
$780. It's like $780, something like that. I'll put the information on the screen here.
And as a comparison point, though, just
Yeah.
to be fair to the Orlando location, the difference in tickets is that you're getting 4 parks versus 2 parks. You are getting a little bit of a different variety of experiences here versus what you
Yeah.
can get in Paris, obviously.
And there's a value to that, but
Sure.
I don't think that it should be, if it was 30, like a 35, I'm paying like 35% of the cost or something like that. I think
Yeah.
pricing it out, it's about $1,900 for a 3-day hopper at Walt Disney World for my family of 3 versus
Wow.
the less than $800. That's a drastic change when it's more than double the cost. So when you start putting all this into a spreadsheet and you're looking, you're like, yeah, grand scheme of things, because I'm going to spend time in Paris, I'm going to spend more money. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a better experience because I'm not just going to see the Eiffel Tower behind Ratatouille. I'm going to see the real damn thing. I'm going to see the Iron Lady at night from my hotel room when I
And
move
you're gonna
into
have a
the
new
city of
reel
Paris.
that
Yeah,
you're gonna have for Not Club 33.
Look,
I'm
So
sure you'll
I'm
see them
on
on the channel. Yeah.
I'm on Disneyland Paris's website looking at these
Yeah.
shit.
hotels.
This was the danger of this podcast.
Oh my god, like the
That's what it's
theming
about.
of these hotels is amazing.
Well,
Yeah,
so this reflects, I think, a different attitude, and this is part of my analysis, and this is something that the Wall Street Journal touched on to a degree, but they didn't really go whole hog. And I think it's partially because I think they were strictly going after the business analysis, not the cultural
yeah,
analysis
Yeah.
of it. And that's well intentioned, I think, to strictly go after the business aspect
sure,
of this, because the cultural aspect of this can be a little bit touchy these days, just to say the least.
Yeah.
yeah,
But I think that the problem is that a company like Disney, and there's a lot of hubris to it. You have to have a lot of hubris to it to try to achieve some of the things that they have strove for in the past.
sure,
Um, but with that kind of hubris comes like a little bit of an ego that needs to get checked
Yeah.
every now and then. Certainly, I think the '80s were a gut check for the Disney company.
Yeah.
70s
clearly.
and 80s from an intellectual property standpoint. Even though I think one of my favorite Disney childhood movies is from that era, so that would be Rescuers Down Under.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Love that
that's a good one.
one. I that's, I think, akin to what we're going through right now from an IP standpoint, especially
Yeah.
because there's a lot of repeats and not good ones, apparently.
Yeah.
That's
I
the
mean,
entire industry at this point.
Yeah.
Like every movie that you see, it doesn't matter what movie house is putting it out. It's just part 2, part 10, part 50. It's like no one has the creative bug because they just keep on regurgitating what is already out there. It's kind of
Yeah.
annoying.
yeah, and then they fuck up the good shit. Anyway, like I'm done with Star Wars, man. I'm pretty much done with Star Trek.
I never
Like
started,
anything
so
new.
you guys talk about all this stuff, and you guys are always
I
complaining about it.
know
I'm like, well, hey, I never started it, so I don't have the problem.
Nah, it just it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like you wasted it because like you'll always have those good memories. It's the same thing that I feel about Disney, right? Like even though I get frustrated at all the pennies and everything like that, I've had a lot of fun over the years, and so I don't feel like it's time or money wasted or anything like that or anything. But I do feel like the future of whether or not I spend more money with this place is certainly in jeopardy. And it sounds to me like if they don't get some of the pricing stuff under control, it
Yeah.
might be the same for you as well.
There's no checks and balances here for price control, though. I mean, you talk about
Well,
like
it's the market.
yeah,
It's
to
you
an
not
extent, but
going.
they can bulldoze those all stars and turn that whole area into a 5-star luxury retreat, and then just make the price higher and make it an elite thing that only the elites can do. I mean, they'll be
You say
flexible.
that, but you run out
Yeah.
of elites. Like I feel like that's the bug of it. Like they keep saying
People are
that kind of
there's a
stuff.
wait list. There's still a wait list to get into Club 33. I mean,
Okay,
the
but dude,
the
like
fact of the matter is people are
that's not.
like we harp on all these things and we don't like the price increase, but maybe that is Disney saying, "Hey, you guys are on the cusp of being put out. That's where you're at, or you're gonna go less." Because the average guest, it's not us. It's definitely not you. You live there. The
No,
average guess is they're doing this trip once every 10 years, once forever. So does Disney actually give a shit that these people aren't returning? Like it might say that on the survey, and that might raise an alarm bell for some lower level executive, but does that really register to Iger? Is he like, yeah, I don't care because I got all of the money I got out of you, and next man up? Because when
I
they're looking
see
at
that
it,
declining.
when
Like
right, you say
that's what
that, you say
those
that,
indicators are. That
but
that's what the
if I
analysis
can
is as well.
But if I can
Stick.
make more money, if I'm looking at it from the corporate standpoint, I'm not saying this is correct, but this is what happened, and these are the facts. If I can make more money and more people still came in than last year, and I've made more money than last year by I raised the prices, and more people came than last year, why would I stop doing that? So
Well, Steve,
unless
you are
people
a.
literally
I know
start,
why.
yeah, yeah,
Hey, I know why, and you know why. It's a very simple reason. Steve, you own your own business and you
yeah,
understand the ease of recurring business.
sure.
That if there's not an issue and expectations are met and coverages are paid out, etc., and so on and so forth, people are happy with the policy, they just renew.
Yeah.
And the
When
same
they're
can be
not, they
said
don't.
about
Yeah.
establishing a family vacation pattern, because that's what happened to me, is that we got cycled in
I
and
think that's
got
gone.
sucked into that vortex.
And
And
that's what's gone.
happened to Amanda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't.
That pattern, I believe, they said so much. Like, this is like, it's pre-pandemic. I don't 2018, 2019, something like that, or it could have been 2020, right before the pandemic. They said it in so many words that that's just not the business that they were looking for and then they got rid of the annual pass. And they doubled down on that. They're just like, I don't really care if you guys keep coming. We want the once in a lifetime guest that's going to pay higher prices in our parks and not care because they've budgeted $10,000 for this trip. They started going after that, and they said they showed you what they did, because they didn't make the same changes over in California, because that's the quote unquote locals park, and those prices now they've went up and they've made changes to them, but they haven't been wholesale like they did to us in Orlando, where everything was just, you had everything for free, and then it wasn't included, and they gave you some of it back because they're trying to toe this little line. They didn't just drastically make these same wholesale changes in LA. And the reason for that is because I guess that's the place where they want that business, because people aren't, let's just be honest, nobody's taking a 2-week vacation to Los Angeles to go to Disney World or to Disneyland.
That's
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. And
yeah,
to be blunt, that was our experience at the Gaylord, right?
Hmm.
We were welcomed and they wanted us to stay.
Yeah.
It
yeah,
does not feel like Disney wants you to be there,
yeah. I
uh,
don't think
like
that's their
especially
intention anymore.
at the resort.
Yeah, I truly don't think that that's their intention anymore. And
Well,
if it's by design, I mean, they've said it. They're basically telling us that.
yeah, and that's where
And
they're losing me. And
yeah,
I'm not here for um how do I put this? I'm not here for judgment of luxury. Let me put it that way. I think that it's perfectly fair to buy into Golden Note, for instance. If
yeah,
you have the money, go right ahead. Why should I have a problem with any of that? Same thing with Club 33. Go right ahead.
yeah,
That should not affect my park experience. Okay.
Yeah.
But the way that the Disney parks are now trying to negatively affect my park experience, that's my problem. And I think that that's where they're losing a lot more people, because it's not just us that's feeling that, the folks that would go all the time, I think, either. I Pat
it's
mentioned it,
yeah,
that he
but
sees it more. And what
it's us that feel it. Yeah.
what elites pay for, though, is not what Disney's gonna provide, not at this level anyway.
I, I think the what you're seeing is a lot of people in our situation, and also people that have microphones and talk about Disney, are the ones saying things about it. The fact that they're still growing, just tells you that the average guest doesn't see, like, you go just talk to a random neighbor. Well, you're in Florida, so it's different. But if I go and talk,
Yeah.
they still want to plan a Disney trip, and they're still coming to me and asking me questions. They're still going to go do it because they're going to do this once, maybe twice in their life.
Yep.
And we aren't the target guest. They don't care if we repeat. They don't care
Yeah.
if you go. That's not their end game. And that's just something that we either come to grips with and deal with, or don't go.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. So I understand that. And here's where I feel like it's a poor direction, because it's not influencers, it's not those people that I'm necessarily speaking to or anything like
Yeah.
that. When
Yeah.
people are turning on this company and saying it's not the experience that you're paying for,
Yeah.
at some point people are going to stop paying for it. And then they
Yes.
have all of this planned expansion money that they're supposed to be investing.
Yes.
And they're not going to get the backfill business because they're not satisfying the customers leading up to that business.
Yeah.
And I understand where all of these things are coming from, but they're not considering the long-term implications of anything beyond Bob Iger's tenure, frankly.
I know.
And here's the thing that I'm seeing anyway, and this is like I said, I'm considering long term, and I think that the way that Eisner did it in the '90s sort of was the right way to do it. Was to keep expanding and keep growing the price of the tickets, but you get more stuff, and you want to keep coming back. It becomes a yearly pilgrimage because there's something brand new for everybody to see. I think that winning me back as a guest, the first thing that they could do really would be to expand and actually add a fifth park.
Right.
And we
But
won't get into that. We don't
5
have to
years, but
count.
5 years from now, say they did that.
Mhm.
You don't have. It's not that they have this infinite amount of land where they can keep on adding a new gate to to
No,
to make
but
things
I can get
bigger.
it. So there's more to this, and this is something I can get to
Yeah.
as well. I agree with what your assessment is, but at the
Yeah.
same time, though, I know that they have plenty of undeveloped land that very easily could be developed into theme park land. It's not
I
that
mean,
they. It's not that they haven't. Or it's not that they can't. It's that they haven't. That's
there's
the issue.
viable land and there's unviable land that they own there too. There's a lot of things they can't build on that is not safe for infrastructure. There
And understood all of that.
there's a
But what
things that we will never ever know. And my my biggest concern is with the company is just like, how long does this go on to where I don't want to, I get what you're saying. You've already chosen not to renew. My biggest concern is how long does this
no,
go on
that's not
before
it.
I'm, like, all right, well, I'm out. It's not
Yeah,
now.
that's
I
my
still
point.
want to go, but I know for a fact that I am not their target demographic. They've gotten my money. They don't need, because when I go there, I'm finding ways to save. I'm not just blowing out and doing it big.
But
I'm
are you
spending
relying on
EDC
your
points. Yeah.
are you relying on nostalgia to bring you back, or are you genuinely enjoying yourself every single time that you
Oh,
go?
I enjoy yeah, it's a good place to go. I mean, I wouldn't spend $1 there. I won't give you $1 to go watch a bad movie just because, I won't give you any money. Like, it doesn't matter about
Oh, I'll
nostalgia.
watch Star Trek 5.
Yeah. You
Trust me.
have to you have to provide some type of entertainment and enjoyment for me, or I would never ever 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 give you a dollar. That's why the All Stars could be $3 a night. I'm not fucking staying there because it would provide me no enjoyment. I like creature comforts, um, just not happening. Um, so there are things that, sure, there's nostalgia and all that, but that's not why I go to Disney. I go to Disney because I enjoy it. But with the way they're headed, it will come a time where I am underneath the line of where they're taking the company and where I am. Maybe it won't come. I don't know, but the trajectory just says that, hey, you're not our focus. So
Just wait. The
yeah,
next stage for you though is that you move here. So just be
I am not moving to Florida. Yeah, I sell insurance for a living, folks. There'd be I don't wish that upon any of you guys down there. Your situation with the insurance companies. So yeah,
well. So
I'll keep it. Yep.
to me, the change in leadership needs to happen with CEO,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah,
and
it's
I
coming.
think that when it happens, something that says that they get it. Here's a couple of things that they could do to say that they get it to me. Anyway, that things are going to get better as a guest and return to something that was reminiscent of the times of yore and what have you. I would say the first thing that they could do is announce a new moderate resort, which they can't theme it after anything inside the Pacific Islands, nor can this resort say or contain the words wilderness, springs, or any words that would make me just roll my eyes, like the word reflections.
Well, I don't.
Ugh,
Yeah,
it's
I'm sure there's
awful.
somebody at Disney really wanting to get your money back,
No, I
Bobby.
know. I'm just saying
Yeah,
that it's such a bland and overused trope, and like it's a
corporate.
sign of a lack of creativity at a
Yeah,
company that is supposed to strive for the
yeah.
most
It's
Yeah.
creativity.
very corporate.
And that's my point. So
Yeah,
if I'm saying that the change and the thing that would draw me back, that's what I'm looking for. It is for them to do anything but say Wilderness Springs or something like ugh, like
you're looking. I think
um
just from a base level. I mean, you can say all these details and stuff, and it's fine for content. But
I mean it's
in
funny though.
the
Why can't
reality,
why are you stepping on the joke?
I'm
I
just
mean
you're saying I'm the average Joe here. I'm just telling you what you need fundamentally is for Imagineering to have its carte blanche again,
yep,
to run the
amok.
the company from a creative side the way that they know how to do and make things fun for the guest again. And I don't see. I mean, Imagineering has they're able to do things, but they're not able to do them in the way that they used to do because they're a little hamstrung. Let's just put it that way.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey Amanda,
Yes.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So,
This is going to be the most random of questions.
Oh God.
Um, why did we run amok?
Why are you doing this to me? All right,
Because
Google.
it's my favorite segment that Amanda Google shit.
good
We
one to
really
find
should
out.
have some sort of like visual of some kind, but
All
or
right.
some sort of sounder. I'll work on a recording.
So
Do we know why we run
apparently
amok?
the phrase comes from a totally different language actually.
That's
Ooh,
all of English.
It's Malay.
Hmm.
ah,
So it comes from a Malay word which means to attack furiously or rush in a frenzy. And the term was first used in English in the 1600s, thanks to
okay.
Captain Cook.
Oh, there you go. All
Well,
right.
okay, that's kind of fascinating. I'm glad that we learned something today. I am, and
I
I'm
am
also
too,
glad that I was
because
able to.
I had a whole thing about Disneyland Paris prepared.
Well, so that's the thing is
We'll
that
get
I
a
felt
whole.
guilty because it felt like me and Steve had just stolen the entire show, and he had
I think we'll
hijacked the
have.
wheel because he's used to running
Yeah.
the
Sorry.
Notcast.
I think
Get
you'll
the
get a
fuck
whole
off.
like after I go to Paris, there'll be more talk of the differences and all that stuff. So
Well, so yeah, and
yeah.
I don't want to dive too deep into like the differences between the parks or whatever, but I did want to talk about what drove you there. Amanda, you did do some research. You might as
I,
well throw some
I did do a little.
factoids
I did some
Yeah.
about
research.
Disneyland Paris out there. Steve, here's some preparation for you.
Yeah.
Just in case,
Let's hear
think
it.
of it like a Dave Letterman top 10
Yeah.
if you will, fun factoids. So you can be that guy when you know that guy at the Disney World parks, the one that's like, hey, did you guys know that the Haunted Mansion, like one in California, goes like up or down, and then this one
Oh
goes
yeah.
up? You
Yeah.
know that
Yeah.
shit.
I don't
It's
know which
referred
one
They
it
to.
is.
always get the factoid
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
Like you can
Yeah.
be that guy now with these factoids.
Well,
Ready?
Did this park open in 1993 or 94?
92.
92.
Boom.
Oh, I was in the
It
vicinity.
actually, okay, so it opened in 1992, April 12th, 1992, which for
Ah.
me is also an awesome day because it's also the day my oldest niece was born. So
Oh.
there you go. Shares
Hey.
birthday with my oldest niece. But it actually, the plans for a European park actually came about in like 1972. So
Oh.
they had been planning this since like right after Disney World opened.
Wow.
It's the second of the international parks. Tokyo Disneyland was first in
Yeah.
'83.
Yep.
And then that was kind of the catalyst. Okay, well, we did because it was instant success in Tokyo. So they were like, oh, well,
Mhm.
this worked out well. Let's go ahead and do the European one. Um,
Euro Disney.
yeah. They, the head of Disney Parks in 1984 came up with 1,200 locations that they could have done this in. They did
Oh.
whittle that down to 4 by 1985.
Wow.
Do you have those? What other options?
2 were in Spain and 2 were in France. The 2 in Spain would have been on the Mediterranean Sea, so they would have been very similar climate-wise to Florida and California.
No.
The
California,
one,
not Florida.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah. But
Depends on the part.
there
No, it
was
doesn't.
one. There was one in France that they really wanted, and I think it also had a similar climate to California. It was in the southern part of France.
Yeah.
But when
Nice.
they started looking into it, they found bedrock that they couldn't really do construction with. So that's when the location just outside of Paris was chosen. But
just outside, it's
like 20 miles. It's like 20 miles outside of Paris.
It's an hour-long
like-
train ride to get in the center of the city. Yeah.
By the way, that's like saying Disney World is just outside of Orlando. Just so we're on the same page. It's
Yeah, but the thing about Orlando is Disney World.
Yeah.
Like, Orlando wouldn't exist. So it doesn't matter where Orlando is because no one cares where that is. People are going there for
Yeah.
Disney World. Like, you care.
Some
you
of us
there.
live here, man. God,
No
damn.
one did. Literally no one did before. This is they built this outside of a city that already existed.
Yeah.
The most visited, one of the most visited cities in the world, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, this is also a
Some of your
pretty.
profiteers off
This
this,
is
I
also a
understand.
pretty central location and to like Western Europe because I think they said like they calculated it in like 400 and something million could get there pretty easily by car and like another like 300 million by plane, a short plane ride. So construction.
Train's the way to go.
Construction
But
started.
that presumes that everybody likes each other. Like, it's not like California and Florida, where at least we're like, yeah, we're both Americans. Like, no, Europe isn't like that with Germany and France. They have
It is.
different languages and shit.
Oh
Like-
no! You just once you're inside of the EU, like you're in the Schengen
Like,
area,
yeah.
you just go wherever you want. The borders are open, so
Yeah.
What I mean though is, like, culturally speaking, it's not the same thing. Like, there isn't that shared identity across those countries like that.
Yeah, but for something like this, I could see why they thought it would work better than it did originally because of the ease of people just will get on a train from in Amsterdam and be in Paris for the weekend. Not even the week. They'll go down for the day, grab some wine and cheese, and come back home. Like, it's a 2-hour, it's a 3-hour train ride, and they just do that. Like, it's just. But this whole concept didn't really work out.
No.
To start.
No.
To start with,
I'm sure we're going to get there.
Foreshadowing. Construction begins in August of '88. They opened their information center in December of 1990. Before they even opened the park, they'd already planned for the second one.
Oh, okay.
Like, those plans were already in the works for the second park before the first one even opened. But they decided they were going to have, I think a total of 5,000 hotel rooms when they opened is what they wanted.
Ambitious.
So, and they opened with, I think, just over that. They opened with 7 hotels, which is what they still have. And all 7 are themed to a different region of the United States.
Yes. They are.
So, like,
Is that what they do?
they have, looking at it, they've got the New York one, which is the one you're staying at.
Yeah.
Then they've got one that's themed to it looks like Beach Club. It's like the New England themed, but it looks like the Beach Club.
It's called the Newport Bay. Yeah.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
They've got the Disneyland Hotel. This looks like the Grand Floridian to me.
I think it's more opulent, and the cool thing, I almost picked that, but it was like almost double the cost.
I'm looking at it a price right now.
It's
not
literally cheap. You walk out of the lobby into Disneyland
Park.
Paris park, the gates right there.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing like that at Disney World. Yeah.
No. They've got Sequoia Lodge, which is, that looks like it's a wilderness lodge type. So like Northern California.
I would say that's more like Fort Wilderness, like, but with a hotel.
Well, they've
It's
also
not
got
on the level of
cabins.
Wilderness Lodge.
They've also got cabins. So
I can just imagine like the French trying to camp though. That's like the
Okay,
funniest fucking thing
look,
to me. I don't
you need the
like,
name of the, you know how we have like Fort
Sacre
Wilderness,
bleu!
we have like Fort
They do
Wilderness
camp.
and the Fort Wilderness cabins and all in the campground. This is their cabins is the Davy Crockett Ranch.
Yep.
So there's that. Then they've got like
I
the
mean-
Santa Fe, the Hotel Santa Fe.
Yep. That's like
And-
Did
Coronado.
Davy Crockett get canceled? I don't remember. This was a while.
I don't think so.
Okay, good. We can still have Davy Crockett.
And then
Yay.
they've got the Hotel Cheyenne. And then like
So there's a
there's
lot
a
of moderate options.
A lot of moderate
And-
options.
Yeah. And then a couple of value, and then they just have the 2 deluxe.
Yeah. And then they've
Yeah.
got a little further out from everything, like apartments. The
Yeah.
Le Village Nature Paris.
But they would. That's what you're bussing in from there.
Yeah, you're best. Yeah, this is like it's like 25 minutes, and you have to pay the
Yeah.
public shuttle. Like
I
that one
wouldn't-
is further out, but
Ugh.
That's
um,
that's not
you
part
know,
of it.
they've got
Yeah.
they've got these.
That's kind of how
hotels.
Universal's resorts, by the way, feel. Like some of them are just like not like in that main section of property.
Yeah,
Like their endless summer resorts
is on the
are-
opposite side.
of I-4, and it just feels so disconnected from
And
everything.
that's how it's going to
else.
be with
It's
Epic
wild.
Universe too. It's gonna feel disconnected a little bit.
Finite amount of space.
But they're like they came up with a deal with the city to like make it so that they could have like their own dedicated bus lanes on like
Yeah.
the roads. So there's a
There's
lot of construction
cost
going
of
on right now.
Yeah, they're sharing the cost of the infrastructure with
Yeah.
the city, basically.
Yeah,
Say,
so that
just
they can
give us
have
bus
their
lanes and
dedicated
we'll
bus
split it
lanes.
50-50.
Yeah.
When we do a dedicated Disneyland Paris episode, I'm sure you'll get it. You'll see that, that this was
Yeah.
a joint venture with Disney.
Yeah, it was.
and the-
But it opened April 12th, 1990. Was originally called Euro Disney. The name changed later to Disneyland Paris. Opening day did not go as planned. Like at all.
It never does, by the way.
No, their opening day was horrible.
Worse than Disneyland.
So the leading up to all of this, the French government and the radio stations had all been like, it's going to be chaos and you need to avoid the area and all of this. By midday,
So nobody came.
that parking lot was half full. They think they only had about 25,000 people
Scared everybody.
show up. So yeah, it did not go as planned. But
We
when they
don't understand capitalism in that goddamn
hope-
country.
I hope it's like that when I go.
yeah.
Only 25.
But they opened up they had the Disneyland Paris Resort, and they had their version of Downtown Disney, which at the time was called like Festival Disney, and now it's Disney Village.
Yeah.
They have since expanded. They have Golf Disneyland now, which is 3 9-hole
didn't know that.
courses. And then they also have like
Ooh.
they also have a kid section. I don't know if that's like they just called it a children's or for younger people. Like
Steve,
it's
what's
a Mickey
your,
shaped.
Venmo?
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I'm not bringing my clubs.
No, I was gonna say, bring me back a hat, man.
They
Like,
also have a driving
Oh.
range. They also have a
Really?
driving range there, yes.
Oh, okay.
So, and then they also have their own little city kind of like celebration as well now.
Yeah.
So, so there's that. But yeah, it did not. It looked like it wasn't gonna like they thought they were gonna have to file bankruptcy within like the first year or so of it opening because it was not going well.
Now they've got the direct trains and they've
This
got the
is the
infrastructure to
only
support it.
I did
Yeah.
find something cool that I saw when it first opened. It was originally owned and operated by a French company that Disney had majority sharehold. You know, Disney
Yep.
owned like 40% of the shares in it, but then other shareholders owned 50%, and then there was 10% that was owned by Prince Al Walid of Saudi Arabia.
Shocking.
when it first
Yeah.
opened. So there you go. But now Disney took full control in 2017, and this is the only overseas theme park that is completely run by the Disney company.
Yeah.
So
Well, Steve, I hope that you are genuinely looking forward to this vacation.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
well earned, by the way, especially because you work for us for free.
It's true.
I mean, shit. Like people should say some things, but I made you the boss. We made you the boss, so like you tell us what to do. So yay me. But I also work for free, so there's that.
yeah.
I mean,
Everybody here does.
Yes, we do. It's a labor
Yep.
of love. Steve, where can we be found on social media and whatnot?
We are at not_club33 everywhere that we post. Really only post on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads right now, but you can find us at all of the websites with that information.
Fair enough.
And it's linked in
Amanda,
the description. Yeah.
Hey, Amanda, we also are trying to figure out social media.
Yeah,
and whatnot.
we still are. I'll work on it at some point.
We have accounts.
We do. We have accounts.
I tag you in them.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, but then I'm too lazy to like switch over because I have like you have to understand with like Instagram, I have like 4 different accounts going on. I get
She's got side hustles.
So we can find us on Facebook and that site formerly known as Twitter at Cynical Disney, and you can find us everywhere else. So Instagram, Threads, Pinterest, TikTok. I think that's everything. At Cynics on Disney.
Steve, thank you very much for sponsoring this here podcast. We do genuinely appreciate it, and producing it and providing extra content, particularly when we just don't want to spend money at the parks anymore. I mean, like it's really tough to do a Disney podcast that involves reviews, in particular when you just
when you're not going.
Yeah, that makes it a little bit tough. But press on, we do, because we still are going to drag Pat back on this sumbitch. And then we are also going to pepper in a future review. Now, I want to get your thoughts on this because you know where we're going. But we are kind of debuting a resort, so to speak. We are staying at the which one is it?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. It's one of the new
It's
ones.
the Terra Luna.
Yeah, I think it's the Luna. Yeah.
Over at Universal. This is one of 3 new resorts that Universal is opening along with Epic Universe.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we could do the Helios. That one is a little tough to get.
Well, that one also doesn't open until Epic Universe opens Memorial Day weekend. The two new value ones open. One's already open. One opened in January. The one we're staying at opens March 25th, and we're staying there like 2 weeks later. So,
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've never stayed at like a brand new resort before, so I'm pretty excited.
So what the folks should do at home is probably hit those notifications so they know when that episode drops sometime in April. Right?
Yeah, it'll drop in April, and I will definitely try to be posting to social media for that one because I think
make sure that you are subscribe to the channel and that you do hit the notifications so that you are informed of all of that. I should remind folks to do that more often, and probably should do that earlier in the video as well. Those SEO things, I'm terrible at those. But also, guys, make sure that you are sharing this here video and doing all that liking and stuff because it exposes us to more listeners with the algorithm, and frankly, I don't want to expose myself any other way.
Hold on.
Not with Steve watching.
Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
Because I know that some of my students have found this podcast.
Oh God.
I just want to remind you, you have a quiz on Wednesday. Please study. Thank you.
Wow. Wow.
I'm done. I can't.
Kids,
Have a magical
do what you do, okay?